I had to wear my Deadpool shirt today because Deadpool's gonna be dropping. So I had a copy. I thought it was pretty dope. Favorite Marvel character?
Of Marvel? I feel like I never think about X-Men with Marvel, but like it is Marvel.
Yeah, that's true.
But like they paint it as like this whole different world. Like they even have like overlaps with it. But I mean, I do love X-Men a lot.
Especially with the movie, they definitely like butchered that. Like if you didn't know the comics, you definitely thought it was separate.
Right. But then there's even one part, like, this is completely off topic because it's not even anything close about my favorite character. But like there's one movie where they overlap an actor for Marvel and DC plays two different people. It's the guy who plays...
I was about to say, which one's that?
He's the guy who was oh my gosh, all the name in WandaVision when her brother comes back.
Oh, the
blonde guy.
Oh yeah, they did Quicksilver.
Yes.
Quicksilver. Not Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Quicksilver.
He's like Flash.
Yeah. He's in X-Men First Class.
Okay, yes, you're right. He does.
But he's not.
Yeah. He does the goggles. He has the goggles.
Right, but his name's not Quicksilver.
Yeah, you're right. He's
a different person. But then you find out that he was like
he's Magneto's son.
I think so.
He ended up being Magneto's son. I'm bad with guys. This guy's gonna try to roast me.
I know. Yeah, I'm missing information
sorry.
Because there was like another movie that came after that I didn't see, but I was like, why are they using this actor for this? But then they showed this actor. It was like, aren't they the same world? But anyways, one of my favorite characters, I would say.
No, what they're doing is using they're remaking a character. They're remaking a character with a different actor.
Right.
Yeah. That's annoying, but it is what it is.
But
some actors turn drug addict and then you're like, oh man.
Gotta place them. Sometimes they get pregnant.
Man, that's
Zoe
funny,
101.
Bro. Yo, but who do you? Wow, Zoe 101, classic, even Stevens. So no, don't take me back, bro. Don't take me back. Real quick, hold on. Who's your character though?
My favorite. I really did like
who's
Wanda.
top? Yo, that's crazy. You said that, bro. That Wanda series was wild.
The Wanda series was wild. I thought the movie was a bit like OD. I thought it was like too dark. But then again, the director was like a horror film.
It was
director.
fire.
It was pretty awesome.
You're right. You mentioned Zoe 101, which is funny because some of the intros in that WandaVision were reflecting the. Remember the intros in the movie? So they did like
the different time periods. Yeah.
And they introed one of the episodes, and it was what's that guy? Frankie, Malcolm in the Middle.
No way.
So if you look back at like episode 4, the intro for that episode.
Oh yes, it was like the show. Yes, it felt exactly like
fire.
I
love that you're bringing that up.
Every episode was like rekindling something. Like especially like when you watch the first episode, and you're like, "What is this? Why are we in the 50s?" And the next episode, you're like, "Okay, this is pretty cool." And then that series was dope.
I love that you brought that up, bro, because when they first dropped that on Disney, it was like definitely like I don't know, I was kind of blown away by the production. Like, I was like, yo, like I don't know how to explain it. You said it's too dark. I'm like, man, maybe not dark.
I meant the Doctor Strange movie. I thought that was too dark.
Okay, I think
the WandaVision series
had a little like
I had literally no complaints. Yeah. The Doctor Strange, the first one was like super cool, kind of whimsical, and then you watch Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
And people are dying. Like, what's his face? They're going in the other world, and like this guy's head like
that's true. And they had like
explodes, his blood coming out of his ears.
Oh, you're
like,
right.
Is this? I was like, is this Marvel? Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
It was still a good movie. I loved the movie.
Nah, you're right. You're right. Now that you're bringing me back, they had like weird villains,
and they had like jump scares. Like when she's chasing them towards the end.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And she's going like full witch mode.
It's funny because WandaVision actually is not funny that you mentioned that. WandaVision was, damn, can we run on this topic? So I really like that series, bro. I just sorry. Everybody,
it was really good.
Everybody needs to know, bro. Disney Plus, go look up because after that they did a Loki series and they did a, dang, I can't remember the other guy now.
I think that's something. I haven't watched many of them, but WandaVision I watched all of it.
Fire. Wanda's a great character, and she's almost nearly unstoppable, so good choice on that one.
Right.
So I did hear they're probably going to have, it's like a rumor, they're going to have, like, Hulk in it, but maybe, introduce him as the Red Hulk, which I'm like, the Red Hulk? I'm like, what the heck? Like, Kool-Aid Man? Like,
yeah, that's...
Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm bad with comics,
I don't know enough about comics.
They're going to kill me. All right, yo, so listen, on RPL TV, man, we got Michael in the house. My dog, man, we go way back. Like,
go way back.
Dang, we go.
2012.
We did school together. We did internship, church school, Bible school, whatever you want to call it. We did it for. You did 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, I did 3 years. My third year, you were first year. We did youth ministry called The Rush.
Yes.
Which I've known you before the internship. We knew each other before that. You were, I think, coming out of high school or still.
Yeah, I was in high school.
Dang.
You were a leader around
Yeah,
there.
so don't remind me. I always say that on every episode. Like, yo, how far we go back? But yeah, so we have a lot of history and done a lot of awesome things together. Like doing a youth ministry and just we were freaking youths ourselves, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But we did a lot of dope things together, and I saw Michael end up seeing you at Starbucks last week, and it's been some time. That's so dope because I did see you with Lewis. Shout out Lewis at the church event, Fine Arts.
Yes, that's right.
So we did get to hang out a little bit, and I saw you told me about Africa, which we'll get into in a second. But yo, I just want to say I'm proud of you, man, and like. I don't even know what to say, bro. Like, doing school and then seeing you now and, like, freaking, you have twins. You have two kids, married. Like,
2 boys.
2 boys. That's awesome.
They're going to be 3
Wow.
Next week.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. So, real cool thing about Michael, and this is why we got him on the show, because I was, like, really wanted to, like, spread this word, is that you're going to Africa.
That's right, Africa.
Right, we're over here talking about Marvel, and I'm like, by the way, Michael's going to Africa.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, or just your journey, and kind of really mainly what you're up to in this season going to Africa.
Yeah. So I guess quick rundown of what my position is, what I'm doing. I am a missionary with Assemblies of God, which is a fellowship. And we are, me and my family, my wife, my twin boys, we are going to go to the country of Malawi. Most people think I'm saying Maui when I say that, which is a luxurious Hawaii. But no, it's not luxurious. It's bottom 10 poorest countries in the world. Lots of mosquitoes, no luau's.
So really bottom 10 poorest countries in the world.
Depending on where you look, it's like number 4 or 8.
Man, that's crazy.
It's very poor, yeah. And we'll be going there to work with the fellowship that's there, the local churches there. We're helping to plant youth groups in the churches across the country. So we'll be stationed in kind of the capital city, and from there we'll kind of connect with other pastors and local churches and help them to make a space for young people, teenagers, young adults to kind of get connected to community and experience God in a real way.
Yeah, talk about superheroes. My dog's a whole superhero, man. I just made that one up. Like that one?
That's smooth.
Nah, I really commend, and I really mean this, and I always think about, like, missionaries. I always tell myself, like, I would love to do more missions. You got to raise money, a lot of money. You're going for 3...
We'll be living there for 3 years.
3 years, y'all. So link in the bio. You got to send me those links, get you some funds to do that. But I really commend what you're doing, man. I think, like, doing missions is like for you, maybe, I know you've always talked about it, so you're probably, like, really excited. Maybe, of course, nervous, changing your whole life. But for me, it's like you're very brave. Like, that's a very, like, courageous thing to do. Like, and I think, I don't know, maybe you could talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you've always had the passion for it, maybe it, like, comes off easier for you. Like, oh, yeah, I could do this. Like, I've been wanting to do this. But, like, someone like me on the outside, and if anybody watching agrees, it's like, to give your life and take your kids there, again, a really, poor part of the world, is a very, like, courageous thing to do. It is very, like, hero-like to go and be a light to these kids. What's that experience like for you? Like, getting deeper into, like, I mean, you have a whole family, you're a husband, so, like, you got to be strong and be like, I'm good. But deep down, you're, like, crying. But, like, I like to get to the deep side. Like, what is that experience like for you?
Right. I think you phrased it great. And I kind of even loved the way you introed it. Just, it's funny, just in the space where we talk about missionaries, a lot of pastors, churches will refer to missionaries as heroes. And I've always thought it's a great way to show honor to people. But as someone who is a missionary, I really hate being called a hero. Not to kind of...
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, right. And that's exactly it. Like, that's where it comes from. Like, because where there is much responsibility, there is... Wait, what's the phrase? Spider-Man? Spider-Man, help me out here.
Not even, I think
where
it's like a Bible
great
verse,
power,
too.
there's great responsibility. That's what it is. And so with a great
we're killing these references.
Thank you. I know. I don't know where this is coming from. I didn't do any research on heroes before I got here.
From the Lord.
But like with like a calling to do something big, like you have a lot of responsibility when there's something that you know God has called you without a shadow of a doubt to do. Like there is a lot of responsibility to that. And I say that because, yeah, like I don't feel like a hero. I just feel like someone who said yes to whatever it is that God put on my heart so many years ago. And it's hard to shrug it off because I know, like, even when I was 16 years old, he told me, hey, go do this. And it didn't really make sense. I was a 16-year-old. And then the more I walked in that direction towards what it was he was showing me he wanted me to do, just little things started to make more sense. And so, yeah, I never felt like a hero for doing that, but more so just I'm just trying to do my part the same way how you say yes to what it is that's something God wants you to do. It's probably super hard for you too.
Yeah, podcast.
Yeah, it's probably, like you probably get a lot of rejection. You probably get a lot of discouragement. You probably get a lot of all the same things I feel. That's part of your yes.
Right?
In the same way how my yes is going all across the world, like I really don't look at it any different. You're saying yes to what God called you to do. I'm saying yes to what God called me to do. So I think we all just need to say
that's amazing. That's crazy. And it's cool. Like now, like what we're saying yes to is colliding as friends. Like for a long time, like now I have a podcast show. It's like, yo, come through, like share your message. Dang, bro, I'm about to get emotional, bro. Nah, it's crazy because you're like I'm trying to belittle what I do or what I'm doing by looking at what you're doing. Obviously, I do. And I'm just being realistically speaking, going to Africa again is on some superhero type stuff, like crazy. It's a lot, and you're bringing your family. But I do think the concept, and that was so powerful. You said that the concept of us saying yes to God is going to come with it's going to look in different ways.
Right.
And you hit it on the head when it's like, the doubt or the disbelief or discouragement or rejection. It's like, yo, you actually as a content creator, it's like, dang, you kind of like, that's true. Like it just comes in different ways, like how you see God's calling. So I love that, man. That was awesome. Yeah, you said 16 years old, 16 that you felt called. Yeah. So what's the difference now from being, having a family, being a husband, and being 16? Like, do you remember that feeling? What was that day like? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, honestly, I replay it in my head all the time. I remember I was 16 years old. I was at a youth camp, and there was a pastor. He said, close your eyes. He said, imagine your destiny as a blank chalkboard. And he said, would you allow God to write whatever he wants on that chalkboard? I saw the word missionary. I didn't even know what a missionary was. Like, I was completely new. Like, it was my first time in anything faith related. And so the next time I heard about missions and I heard about missionaries, something just clicked. I was like, that's it. And the more I kind of pursued that, I remember I went on my first missions trip. It just started making sense. I went to Nicaragua.
Wait, I went. No.
2016.
With Pastor Johnny's whole family.
No, I went with The Voice. No.
Oh my God! What about to say, yo, we've done like everything. I went to Nicaragua too.
Yeah.
I think I want to say
they went a couple times before I had went.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Nicaragua was fun. Beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing
beautiful
country.
Place.
Yeah. Awesome people. And I remember I went and it was just like, okay, this is it. So that was after we had finished the program together, and I knew God wanted me to be a teacher because I felt like he was telling me that's going to help you get there. It was like okay, that's missions is C, I'm at A. Okay, God, what's B? What's my next step? And he just showed me small steps at a time. And so he said, okay, I want you to go to school, be a teacher. So I finished at UCF. I was teaching chemistry, biology, and I taught.
Dang, this is after or before internship?
Right after internship.
Oh my God!
So I went to UCF. Congrats. I got my teaching degree. I taught Lake Nona High School for a couple of years. And that's time we got married and we applied to be missionaries. And a week after we said yes to going into the mission field, we found out we were already pregnant with the boys. And so that was a huge indicator for us that, like, when we said yes, my boy's yes was included. Because God was because we wanted to go, and he was like, okay, well, I'm bringing these with you.
Yeah, right. These.
Yeah.
Right? So Kara, man, your wife, like she's for everybody watching, she's like amazing too. She's like into like arts and creativity. Right. And I remember when she first came to faith, like killing spoken words. And Kara, I see you. No, don't play. No, you're blessed, man. She's an awesome.
I truly am.
I'm pretty sure she's awesome, amazing wife to have. And like it's so cool because you're seeing like your side is teaching and stuff, and then her side she does like all this crazy stuff, which I know you're into as well. Like I know you like dabbling into like being creative and stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see like God put you guys together and see that type of like chemistry and like how you guys bring different things to the table.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. I just feel like you're gonna do a lot of really cool things out there. Like you're able to touch different aspects of people's lives.
I mean, like who would have known that? Like, I mean, all this time, there was times where I was like, God, don't send me to Africa, which is ironic.
When you say it, it's funny because you're like this little Puerto Rican boy,
right?
Florida,
Yeah, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do there? Like, I don't know what's going on in Africa. And I remember saying, God, like, don't send me there. Like, there's enough missionaries over there. They have enough help. And like, I just had that idea for some reason. I don't know where I got that from. And all the time, like, God was just trying to like open up my hand because I was saying like, I'll go anywhere but there. And
wow, it's deep.
And it was this time where we were doing this fundraiser at our church, and they were giving money to this project in Africa. And I remember praying, okay, as long as I'm not a missionary yet, like I'm gonna give to missions. The Bible says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give to this thing, and my heart like followed. A couple weeks later, God was speaking to me about going to Africa. It was just like that. It was almost like this.
Yeah, what's it
overnight.
Like? Oh wow, what's it like for God to speak to you about Africa? Like, what is that? And it's funny because on this channel, like people watching, like I love to speak with people, entrepreneur businesses, maybe not in the spiritual realm and so spiritual,
right?
And then obviously, like us Christians, we like to dive into the spiritual realm, right. So I like to have I like for both worlds to collide and stuff. People are always going to be like, oh, what is it? What do you mean God's speaking to you? Right? You always hear that, right? Like, oh, what is God's, what is that like?
That's a great question.
Right? What is that like for you, I guess? Like, do you remember I know they're probably vague, but maybe some moments where you're like, wow, like, wasn't sure, but this is how I knew.
Well, I mean, I think kind of like that scripture I just mentioned, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I think we see that in the entrepreneurial world. We see that in the business world, like where you invest your time, your talent, your resources, like that's your heart follows that, like if you put all your money into A, like
powerful,
your mind is going to be wrapped around A, your heart's going to be mapped around A, like your schedule is going to be wrapped around whatever A is, and so like in that period of time, I felt like God was asking me to give a lot to this. I didn't know that my heart was going to follow it. And that it was as clear as day. It was just God speaking, like, giving me this dream. And I saw my family there.
Yeah. Now you explain that. Wow, it's awesome. Because that scripture you're saying, where your heart will be there. What is it?
Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
And the cup of coffee. No, it's powerful because it's like the mouth speaks what the heart is full of.
Yeah.
It's another one. Like that's like one of my favorites because like you said, like what you think and what you imagine is like what you're gonna do with from A to Z and like how to complete the journey. And I feel like right now in this time, I've been surrounding myself around like more podcasts that are maybe inspirational or getting more deeper.
Right.
And I wasn't really doing that before. I really don't remember what I was doing much, but off of podcasts, I found myself like. When I wasn't doing podcasts, I was not watching so many inspirational stuff. It was like maybe more comedy or making music. But now that I'm doing podcasts, I'm like so invested into like what other people are doing. And I find myself like learning more about my craft and like learning more about like what it is to host well or what it is, like what topics are good. And one thing, man, is being true to yourself. It's like a huge... and a lot of people get wrapped up in the calling of God. And a lot of people, I don't even know how I'm going in this direction, but it's important for people to know, like, people could be like, oh, I want to do something so much for God that they actually, like, end up doing too much. Or they end up, like, not doing what they're called to do. Bro, for a long time, I want to, which I still do, I like to pastor people and I hopefully, like, evangelize and go rap in different states and talk about God. But I was so focused on it being one way. I never thought I'd be like doing podcasts, YouTube. So maybe you could talk a little bit about like the balance in your life of like being called to Africa, but like it's such a big task, but not letting the task overwhelm you or do things out of pocket or out of line.
Well, I think it's funny you mentioned that because like this morning I was reading my Bible, and I was reading this one scripture about the woman who had the blood issue, who was bleeding for so many years. And the scripture says, she says, if I could just touch him, I'd be healed. And then she touches him, she gets healed. And then Jesus turns around and he says, which one of you touched me? And his disciples are like, do you see all these people on you? Like, it's a massive crowd that are there. Like, everyone's like, literally, it's just like a mosh pit. He's like, how could you say that? Like, it could be any of us. And then, like, I always think that's so funny
like comedy.
Because, right? Because, yeah, I feel like Jesus is like just like making a joke. He's like, okay, who touched me? And I was like, everyone's touching you. Do you not see? Like, there's like a baby on your leg. And then she's like, I was willing. He says, your faith has healed you. And what's so crazy about that scripture is, like, all these other people were trying to get to him. Any of them could have been healed just by bumping into him. And she said, if I could just touch him, I would be healed. And he says, your faith has healed you. And I bring that up because what you said, like, the task is so big, and some people like will jump in and say, okay, like I got to do this thing for God, and they'll do too much. Or they'll be like, let me just get kind of close enough, and they're not doing enough. Like, but when we just look at like whatever it is that God has for us as just enough, like we could just be content with whatever. And that's really what it is. It's the idea of contentment. Like, bro, God, like, let me just be content with whatever you want to bring me to, whatever you want in my hands, whatever you want off of my hands, wherever you want me to go, wherever you don't want me to go. Like, God, let me just be content, you know? And I think just being in an American culture, like, contentment is not something that's fed to us or taught to us. It's indulgence. It's like, you need more, you need faster, you need more, like, and there's never, like,
you're preaching. That's why I got Michael on. That's why I got you. No, because you took the words out of my mouth. Like, literally the culture. American culture. Like, I was going to try to add on to it. Like, yo, I'm about to throw this in there. And you said it. I'm like, yo, like, it's so sad, man. Like, the time that we're in. And I don't mean to be negative. I just really feel like that's true. Like, maybe even for Christians, like, to get even more into the subject, like Christians, like, I feel like sometimes as Christians we like to act like, oh, like, what applies to the world, like, oh, that doesn't apply to us. Like, I'm saved, like, I'm healed in Jesus.
No,
it's like,
it's all of us.
It's like, it's around us. It's not that you're a major sinner. It's like we're living in this. Like, you kind of have, like, we don't have a choice. We have to, like, figure out our faith in this. And just to add on to what you're saying, for my viewers watching, like, when I was doing I'm a tax agent every January, hit me up. And bro, I had an injured shoulder. Shared this a little bit last time on the last episode, but I'm bringing it up again because I always have this thing about rest. And I literally brought this topic up with Jonathan. I like to hit it on the head because one thing that was like making me what I realized was like the American culture was so fast, and I realized like what's one thing I would love I won't love no more, because I just want more and more of that idea and less of God. You know what I mean? It's like you want more and more of Africa. Like, you're an example. You know, that's an example. Like, you're literally in the mission field, and you're like, dang, God, like, why am I? And God, you're like, why am I here? Like, I'm tired. Like, my wife's mad at me. Like, my kids are like, you know, drinking bad water or something. I don't know. And so, maybe you could talk a little bit more about like being content. Like, what are some? Do you have any like life lessons or things that you've learned where you're like, man, I really need to appreciate where I'm at right now?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like just the journey here has really been a lot of that. I mean, just the nature of my job is a lot of just kind of having faith to depend on money. You know what I mean? Because I mean, a lot of what I do is fundraising and just like not just hoping and praying that it shows up, but also doing like my effort and doing my job to like put myself out there, get connections, speak on stages at churches and stuff like that. But it's also just like, okay, God, like, I just need to trust that you have my every need in your hand. I'm going to be content with it. So I think, contentment it's something you could take in any season, any job, any place. Like, it's not just like in my like missionary job, which I mean, I think it's so easy. I think it's so easy for people to look at me and my job and my life and think my life is so far removed from theirs, because like, oh, you're gonna be a missionary. You're going to Africa, you know. But like, but like, no, like anybody needs to be content, you know. Like, don't look at like what I'm saying is like, oh, like only crazy people like that guy yanking his family out to another world is going to do that. Like, no, like we can be content in anything. Like, and that comes like look at what are your goals? Like let me speak to like the entrepreneur, to the business person out there, to the people who are not in this ministry space. Like, if you are just like aiming for the numbers, the data, like the money, and you have no mission, no values, no character underneath of what it is that you're striving to build, like, what are you building for? Because then you're going to be like any other person who hit it big and you're still hungry, you know? And like you could look at history and look at all the people who were celebrities that like they had what you would think everyone wants, and they still didn't think it was enough, and they were depressed and they were empty. But like when you are building something and you have drive to aim for something that you know without a shadow of doubt you were created to do, right? Mine's is Africa, for example, and making disciples in these young kids in Africa. Yours is maybe, I don't know, starting a nonprofit company, maybe making a homeless outreach thing. Maybe it's starting a record label. Maybe it's like doing a podcast. Like, there's contentment in saying, okay, like, what's my mission? What's my goal? What are my values? Because that's what I stand on at the end of the day, you know?
Bro, amazing. Like, wow. I feel like I could go so many directions. You killed that, man. That was awesome because no, you really did, bro. Because we're just as Americans, bro. Like us moving fast. Like I do realize like some of the times we're just so lost. We're just so like caught up in the vision and obsessing with the vision, and which I get it. I understand you got to be all in or nothing. But there's like comes to a time where like you could really crash. You could really crash bad because like you have no character. There's really no moral to it. There's no like real purpose. So like there's no message. It's just numbers and money and like how do I pay the bills. Which on another note, America's making like everything expensive. So I do get it. Like sometimes like it's like I'm just trying to like pay the bills at this point. Right. But that sucks too because what happens is that's what I want to talk about. It strips you away from your faith. So you start living in fear. And you stop living in faith. And I think what you're saying about being content has a lot to do with when the bleeding woman touched Jesus, he said your faith healed you. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like the medicine, I didn't provide a doctor for the medicine.
Right. She had just said like she'd gone to all these doctors and got worse. Like she'd done all these things and got worse. Which I'm like, I'm not making a nod at like modern medicine today. Like, right. Because I mean that could happen today, but also a doctor could help you today. Like I'm not saying anything towards today, but like. Yeah, it was like her perspective that like, man, I know Jesus is enough. If I just had the hem of his garment, I could be healed. Not, man, if I only started my own church and we made 1 million campuses and I did all this stuff, then I'll be a pastor. You know what I mean? Like, then I'll have done it right. You know, like, if I did all this, if I made this company and I sold my first $1 million, then I'm successful. You know, like there's no contentment in that. Because what happens after that $1 million? You make the $1 million and then what? I guess I'll just make my next $1 million. And then the next $1 million. And then you die and you're like, what was it all for? Just the money? Like, what did the money go to?
Yeah. Wow. It's just to even go deeper, rest in peace to my brother Joseph Moreno. It changed my life. You know, I knew him for 25 years. My best friend. We used to go to when I met him, we met in the first grade line. Wow, his line was passing by, my line was passing his, and my other friend Carlos was like, I want you to meet Joe, and like, dang, I can't believe. And Joe just like smirked at me. He's like shorter than all of us, and he was like, he kind of made fun of me. He's like, oh, that's your friend. He's telling his other friend like, oh, this is your friend. Like,
kids are the worst.
And that's how we met, you know. And I never knew I'd lose Joe in an accident. And I say all to say that like sometimes with the being content is like, you never know when you're gonna pass, you know, and the morbid part is like, oh my god, like death, like oh my gosh, like what are you talking about? But then the beautiful part is like you take care of the small things in life. Like you start to pay attention to the small things. I can imagine you have 2 boys and you're married. Like you have to always pay attention to the smaller things in life. And I feel like when we're looking at the big picture, $1 million, starting your own church. Going to Africa and stuff like that, which God has blessed and opened those doors. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of small moments and a lot of little things. And I feel like sometimes we don't slow life down, that we like miss the joy. I think that's what happens. So you live in fear instead of faith. and then you start to obsess and focus on this big vision that it is actually the thief of your joy, and then you end up being sad and depressed. And that's what happens, is like being content makes you focus on these little things in life that actually bring joy, but the enemy likes to lie to you and say, oh no, you need to focus on the big thing, like, right, which you should, but there's a lot of moments in life where like you get lost in the big picture, and it's like, yo, God's like, take care of the small things, because like not only will it'll lead to the bigger picture, but you'll be you actually have joy, you know, and not be like sad, depressed, because a lot of people go through that.
I think especially like in that, like, one thing I feel like God has taught me a lot in these last like couple years is just that like as believers, we all have one calling. There's only one calling, and it's to be a son, to be a daughter of Christ. There's nothing else. We have many assignments in this life. My assignment right now is to be a missionary, is to take my family and be obedient with that. Your assignment is what God's asking you to do right now. My assignment can change a couple years down the road. You know, like, we can't get obsessed, like you said, like, because we do have this obsessive culture of like, man, like, what's my purpose of what I need to accomplish in life? You know,
it really is an American thing. Like, it's like striving, like, it's
right. It's like, I need to like make a name for myself. Like, what is the legacy that I'm gonna leave and that I'm building? And I think you can say that and it come out of like a good heart, but like when the root of that is like, hey, like, I'm just God's child, and like I'm content with that alone, then whatever the assignment is, whether you're janitor or you're CEO, like, like you're gonna make it big, you know?
Yeah, and it's almost like you to leave the legacy for your family, which is like, for people not to over spiritualize. Like, you leave a legacy where Christ is the center. You're like, oh, the Montalvo legacy, like, right, Christ is the center. Like, he really wanted, that the name is just like an earthly thing for your legacy, but it's like, at what cost are you trying to build this legacy? Like, is it about you? You know what I'm saying? Is it about like what you did and like your morals?
Yeah,
for me, it's about Christ.
And that could be, anyone could be in danger of doing that. I could be in danger of doing that. Like me, I'm gonna be a missionary, go to Africa. Like, look how cool that is. Like, I need to be humble too. You're like, that could be, anyone could fall in that step, no matter like what it is that you're doing. So like, even if you're doing something good for a lot of people, you need to check to humble yourself, that you're not making a name for yourself, but you're making a name for something that's bigger than you and that's much greater than you. That's what God called you to do.
No, man, lifting the name up. I feel like lifting God's name, like Jesus Christ specifically, I feel like people are afraid to say Jesus Christ. Like, I feel like now in like 2024, like people, like there's people that one day they'll be like, oh man, maybe I should be a Christian, and then like the next day they're like, like they're arguing against Christ. Like, I notice a lot of Americans are like that. Like, we're in this battle of like, who is God? And it's like, and then there's this cool, I don't know, maybe you could speak on this, but maybe you see this, I don't know, but there's like this cool swaggy thing where it's like, oh, well, there's like different gods, and like we're just studying and like trying to figure it out. It's like, until you die, like until you figure out like that wasn't it. Like, until you, like, it's real though. Again, like I mentioned my brother Joe, because it's like unreal when someone you never knew, you lose someone, or you never knew something would happen to you. My uncle passed away from cancer. This guy was a vegan who worked out every day. Like, he was healthy. He was the healthiest. He had like the best skin and like the best height out of all his brothers and sisters. And God still took him. And so I like for people to know, like, yo, on this channel, not to like whatever, but we got to figure this out, because you could get freaking lost in the American culture. It's getting, to me, in my opinion, it's getting really bad. Maybe you could explain maybe what you feel like God's been speaking to you about.
I think the biggest thing is everyone's got to read their own Bible. Because, I mean, like you said, if Jesus truly is the way, we need to know who Jesus is by his words himself, like not like what this person said about this person, what this person said through this TikTok Christian influencer. Like, I got to know him for myself. Just as much as my pastor knows him, just as much as the pastor at this church knows him, just as much as the pastor at that church knows him, because like that's really the gift that we have in God, and what in the day and age that we live in, that we get to know him personally, experience him in our own life, and him speak to us and him lead us in this life. So for us to know him truly for ourselves, like, we all have access to that. So we have to take advantage of that.
No, amen. It's crazy. There's a lot of people I think that's what it is. Like the internet is like flooded with so much information that it's like one day you could feel this way, and then you'll see like a video on this, and you're like swayed to think that way. And it's like, whoa, like that was never a thing for our parents growing up. Like you really had to go find Jesus without having to find a content creator. You would really have to read the word. What is something that a revelation or something that God has spoken to you recently that you feel like maybe is opening your eyes in a new way from when, this whole walk with God from when high school to now? What is like recently like a theme you've been focused on?
I mean, I do. I mean, I kind of circle back to what I said before. I think the contentment is a really big one. Because, I mean, we got married. I mean, we were relatively young. I mean, we were an okay age, I guess, to be married. I was 25. She was 27. And we were both working really good jobs. Like, both had our own salaries. Like, so, like, I was just looking at pictures, like, when we first got married. And, man, I made the nicest meals. Like, I bought, like, the Greenwise, like, organic meats all the time. I was at Publix regularly. Like, that says enough.
Trader Joe's.
And I was like, yeah, we had money. We were sitting there. We were comfortable. And then God telling me, okay, you got to do this now. I was like, okay, that means I got to say goodbye to all this stuff. I think it kind of goes back to like what I'm saying, just being, I mean, like, pardon the pun because I'm a missionary, but being mission focused, like whatever your mission is, like whether it's your business or whatever it is that your mission is, not missions in particular, in my case. But like when you're mission focused, like, okay, this is what God wants me to do with my life. And you've captured hold of that. Or if you don't know what that is, like, then let your effort be like praying for that and like seeking that. And just knowing that, like, man, okay, if I need to let go of this job to go do this, then I'm content with that. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm only in this job to get from point A to B. And so that was really hard for me when I let go of being a teacher, because I loved teaching. I loved my students.
Now we're going somewhere.
I loved everything about it. And I was like, man, I could do this. I could do this for the rest of my life. Like, I remember one day even I would spend like some of my spare time like looking up like these different master's degree programs at UCF that were related around curriculum writing, because I just felt like I had these great ideas about building just like this gamified way of learning. Because I was like, okay, like COVID was happening when I started teaching. All these kids, like, everyone plays games now. I'm like, and everyone's learning online. Like, this could be such a great way to make money and help kids to learn in a fun way. And I was like, I had all these great ideas. Like, how could we do this? How could we do this? And I remember I was looking, I was like, what if I went to school and I did this and I did that? And then I remember I was talking to my wife one day. I was like, what if I did this? Wouldn't this be so cool? Is this an awesome idea? And she was like, yeah, that would be great. It's like, but that's not what you're going to do for the next 5 years of your life, next 10 years of your life. So does it really matter? And I don't think my wife was shattering my dreams, because I think some people would hear that and might think that, but my wife knows my dreams more than anyone else. My wife knows.
Keeping you accountable.
Right. She was keeping me accountable, saying like, yeah, but that's not what you want. You want to go to the mission field. So is that really going to help you? And I was like, and I sat back, I was like, wow, no, it's not. And it was just this idea that when we get comfortable in something that is good but may not be what is God's best for us, we can kind of sit back and coast and think like, man, like, this is still good, like my wife's doing ministry, I'm a teacher, I'm doing ministry in the classroom,
you're not forcing.
I'm doing good things here, I'm doing good things, like, man, like, I'm still doing things for God in this position, but I always knew that this was temporary. And when you begin to put yourself in a temporary position and you make a permanent residency in something that's supposed to be temporary, man, you will start screwing things up and you will stop hearing what God wants you to do, because you're literally saying, I'm going to ignore whatever it is that you're telling me because I like this temporary better. And when you start putting roots where they don't belong,
man,
it's going to hurt when you dig them up.
This ain't my podcast. This is yours. You're going crazy right now. I say that, no, I love that you're saying that because I could bounce back and relate to that so much. And for people who are watching, I've been through a lot of discouragement. I think in the last, I feel like I'm still, and I'm being open, I'm trying to learn a lot. It's like being open still. Like I'm still going through a lot of mental things that are holding me back. Not holding me back, but they're like really messing with me. They're like, trying to get on me, and like every day I'm still hustling. I for anybody discouraged, one thing I love that you said about temporary is that at one point, and I try not to say this like tweaking my own horn. I'd say this now. Now I can say this as a learning lesson. Like I was barbering. Well, first I wanted to pastor and evangelize, which I still do, but like it just comes in different forms.
Right.
Not let go, but God told me to let go of that. Actually, I was pastoring. God's like, "Yo, like you gotta stop." I'm like, "What?" Like
He'll do
it's
that.
Not God. He's like, "Yeah, you gotta stop." So then I went into music and barbering, and then COVID like destroyed my clientele. No one wanted to come get a cut no more, and I didn't know how to maintain my clientele. I was like still immature in business, and so I picked up a camera, and so I was like, I'm gonna do videos now. Started doing videos. And then for some reason, videos just like it just took a turn where it was like wasn't providing like I needed it to, and that's when it got really dark and like really bad. And I was like really like I became an insurance agent. I was like applying for video jobs, and I was like it was like this dark place. Like what is going on? Like 30 years old, you're like, yo, hold on. Like I'm busting my butt. I'm even trying to like live in faith for like I'm not trying to just live as a barber. I'm trying to like move on and do video. And long story short, I ended up doing taxes. And I always bring that up because it like ended up coming full circle where I started like making the most and coasting the most. I love that word coasting. And it was like I no longer was like, I felt like the whole time I wasn't forcing anything. And I feel like but people around me wanted things to look different for me. And I was like, yeah, but when you're in the pit, when you're in the pocket with God, like when you're in that pocket where you're like locked and loaded, like a big thing for me as a man at 30 years old is like money was defining me. And understand that because like, yo, you're 30, like, are you figuring this out? It's like, yeah, but I'm hustling. Like I'm in a pocket that like no one else is going to understand. Only God's going to understand. Yeah. Sometimes it gets like that. And I love when you say like you're coasting because like, there was people around me that were stressing me out because they didn't see the vision. But deep down, I knew like this is where I needed to be. It was like the boat was sailing without me having to steer. It was like the wind was taking me. And people were like, yo, what are you doing, bro? You're going in the wrong direction. Like, yo, like what's going on with you? And you're just like, I don't know. It's so amazing you're saying that because like I can relate to it. I'm like, dang, you just got to trust God and coast with it and not try to force or be anything that you're not supposed to be. Even when you have people around you trying to convince you otherwise or like questioning you. It's like, nah, bro, like this is sometimes what God has for you is going to look really, really off to a lot of people. And I think people are looking for their approval, so they sway from God. Yeah. And I think if you look at Jesus' life, he never looked for approval.
Yeah. It's like this picture of, it's like this picture of like blessing is something you keep your hands open with because like when it gets in your hand, like at the end of the day, like it wasn't yours to begin with, right? And when you begin to hold on to it, like the Lord gives and He takes away. So if He's gonna take something away that you're holding on to, you get you're gonna get a paper cut or something. Like, like
yo, this guy's a real path. Like you're actually like it's not for fake. He's actually going to Africa.
No, that's the teacher in me. I used to say some random crap like that all the time when I was
some
teaching.
Cheesy, like you just have I swear there was no better way to explain that. He's like when you went like that, I was like, wait. I was like, there was something. It's like something there.
Yeah, and that's just the hard reality that we all go through.
Yeah, you said hard reality because it definitely is a hard reality to like let go of barbering or pastoring and I don't know. I feel like very hopeful that I could sit here finally and tell people, man, like on the show, like, dude, like. I'm pretty sure going to Africa is like you gotta be a little. I always say this: you gotta be a little crazy. You gotta be a little delusional. You gotta be a little bit like people are gonna see you and be like, wait, and like, hold on, what? Like, what'd you say? Like, you're emotional. Like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah. And that was a big lesson I learned was like, if you don't have your faith in order, you can almost like destroy a blessing. Like if you really not believing that God has this for you, you can almost like destroy a blessing in a sense of like because you were so emotional and overwhelmed with with how you felt about yourself according to what other people had to say about you. I know there's a lot right there. Like you tend to like there'll be an opportunity and you'll get like super discouraged because like now you're at a point where God's like, no, I really need you to hold on here, and you're like, yeah, but everything else around me is looking opposite. Like everything else around me is telling me to go the other way, and it's like that's where it gets real tricky. And I think that's where you go into like this realm where like almost like you're in outer space, you're just floating with God, and like, no one's around. It's like, dude, I'm in a pocket. Faith is, it could be a real beautiful thing if you just let it go.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you just, God brings and God takes, man.
Let it do what it do.
Yeah, that's fire, bro. I appreciate you. It's a good episode. Really is. We could wrap it up here, man. I always, before you go, man, I always, by the way, we're going to put links in the bio, which I want to be able to put like maybe website or a place to donate.
Yeah, so I have a link tree. You can see all my stuff on there. You can kind of see a little bit of a video of me and my wife kind of talking a little bit about what we're doing, just kind of the whole dream, the vision of what we're going to be doing when we get to Africa. And then there's a couple of the links on there that you could go directly to give to our proceeds. Those proceeds don't actually go directly to us. We're kind of covered by an agency. And so the money goes to supporting the work that we do to live there. And so it doesn't directly go to me, but it does in a way.
People are like, I was giving and it said...
It's not going to go to some random other person. It's going to be supporting me. Yeah, anyways. And then you can follow up my newsletter, follow us on social media, just kind of see some updates in our journey as we get to the field and live there. So yeah, we would love you guys to follow us, keep up with our journey. Montavos in Malawi on Instagram. That's us.
Fire, man. You've kind of said a lot, bro. Like, you really helped us out. Anything you would say to maybe a young person in your position, maybe someone who's even married, has kids, like trying to figure out what do we do? What would you say to somebody?
I would say, man, just as a cliche, like, keep your eyes on the prize. You know, like, I knew I married Kara because I knew we were going to go to the mission field together. So that was always our goal. That was our dream. And so, especially like for young married people, like, or young people in a couple who are serious about like their future, like, why are you together? You know, like, you could literally date anyone you want. Like, at the end of the day, if you want to get down to the biblical side of things, I don't think God cares who we marry. Outside of a couple of things. But like, I think he doesn't care that you like marry your right person. I think he cares that you are honoring him in your life and you're living a biblical life and whatever and all that. But like, we wanted to do missions, so like there was power in our relationship because we had a reason for it. So like, kind of goes back to being missionally focused. Be missionally focused in your relationship. Be missionally focused in your job, in your family. Like, what is your mission? What is the reason of why you are doing something? If you don't know what it is, ask God, let him show you. And just keep your eyes focused on that, because it would have been so easy for me to have my twins born and then be like, okay, maybe this is a bit too risky, and kind of step back. But there's been so, like, I don't even have time to go through all the little things that have happened from then until now that have been proof, like, man, I have to keep going. And my kids are a part of this because he has provided for them specifically, just as proof that, like, he wants them there too. And it's beyond what I could ever explain.
Yeah, man, that's powerful, man. You heard it here, man. We're coasting in faith, bro. I appreciate you so much. Everybody watching, you guys know here at RPL TV, the 1st and the 15th of every month, I'm dropping a song. I didn't get this song uploaded on this 15th because of the of some type of thing that the distro kid needed from me, so I couldn't actually get it out. But I'm focused on doing that for y'all, so keep in mind that. Thank you again, Michael. We're gonna have his links below.
Thank you, Rich, for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. This is awesome.
It's been great being here.
We could. I say we could be here forever. Like, I could have podcasts for a couple hours, but I have to edit a couple hours.
Yeah. That's
so.
I know that. Like,
I'll put my Cash App below, so that way you can donate to my cause. Because we're trying to get this podcast in Africa.
Yeah, do it around the world.
But I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Comment, subscribe, like. Remember to share this. A lot of people are gonna need to hear a message like this. And again, don't forget to give. Please support Michael and everything he's doing. This is an amazing thing. I never thought in a million years I'd be seeing this like happen right in front of me. Let alone here on RPL TV. I love y'all. Again, Michael, thank you again, and everybody, peace out.